Good morning, friends. It's nice to be back with everyone. I took a little hiatus for a few weeks, trying to find a new flow for these Wednesday morning satsangs, and we're shifting a bit from the urban renunciate to change your mind, talking about the power of affirmation and the power of words to help us to transform our consciousness to reach toward those higher states of consciousness, those states of right attitude, of positivity, generosity of spirit, all of these qualities that exist within us that are our true nature, but that often get clouded by the waves of Maya that are always dancing around us and pulling our ego in so many different directions. And so I'm very excited to begin this, what will ultimately end up being a year-long journey with all of you, going through Swami Kriyananda's book, Affirmations for Self-Healing, and each week just digging into the concepts behind them and how we can use the power of affirmation and the power of these words to help to refine our own attunement to this great yogic teacher and to the teachings of the path of self-realization. So let's begin this morning with a prayer. Divine Mother, Heavenly Father, friend, beloved God, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashaya, Swami Shri Yukteswar, and our beloved Guru, Paramhansa Yogananda, we open our hearts to your light. Help us to attune to your flow of radiant cosmic energy. Help us to learn to uplift our consciousness into your ray of inexhaustible joy, that we may act as channels of thy light, bringing your love, your wisdom, your truth to all the world, flooding every corner of this planet with divine joy. Om, peace, Amen. To usher in the subtle dance of energy and the role that it plays in our lives, the chant we'll sing this morning, what is this life? What is this life flowing through my veins? What is this energy flowing through my form? What is this consciousness flowing through my brain? And what is this power flowing through my will? Energy is a force. It's a flow that we attune ourselves to. So as we ask this question in opening our hearts and chanting to the divine, let us tune into that flow of cosmic energy that is informing every action, every thought, every decision, everything that happens around us, every situation and circumstance. As we ask the question rhetorically, open your hearts to the answer and listen for it. What is this life flowing through my veins? What is this life flowing through my veins? Can it be other than divine? What is this life flowing through my veins? Can it be other than divine? In thy light, in thy love, in thy joy, I am one with the infinite all. In thy light, in thy love, in thy joy, I am one with the infinite all. What is this energy flowing through my form? Can it be other than divine? What is this energy flowing through my form? Can it be other than divine? In thy light, in thy love, in thy joy, I am one with the infinite all. In thy light, in thy love, in thy joy, I am one with the infinite all. What is this consciousness flowing through my brain? Can this life flowing through my veins? Can it be other than divine? What is this life flowing through my veins? Can it be other than divine? In thy light, in thy love, in thy joy, I am one with the infinite own. In thy light, in thy love, in thy joy, I am one with the infinite own. In thy light, in thy love, in thy joy, I am one with the infinite own. In thy light, in thy love, in thy joy, I am one with the infinite own. I am one with the infinite own. In the beginning of Swami Kriyananda's book, Affirmations for Self-Healing, one of the first things that he says to us is words are crystallized thought. And he talks about the essence and the power of words. And this is echoing the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. I love the image that he uses. He says that words are vibrations of thoughts, that they're occasioned, that they're impregnated with the vibration of our thoughts. And of course, our thoughts are resonant of our consciousness. So the words that we're using are a mirror, or they're an expression of our very consciousness. And on a superficial level, we can look at that and say, well, of course that's true. And we can think about people in our lives. Maybe you have a friend or a family member who's particularly crass in a certain way, and you can feel that vibration or that consciousness, or we can certainly feel it vibratorily when we're listening to music, and we can resonate with different consciousness if it's a deep, heavy, intense music, or something that's light and airy like Swami Kriyananda's music. So of course, on a superficial level, we can look at that and say, yes, that's an obvious conclusion to draw. Of course, our words are a reflection of our consciousness. But to get into that concept a bit deeper and to really look at the spiritual truth that resonates beneath that, when we are speaking, when we are using words, it's an opportunity in every single moment to fine-tune our consciousness and refine our attunement with the divine, because we have an opportunity in every thought that we offer into the world, whether spoken or not, because a lot of our thoughts just happen in our head, but they hold just the same vibration and just that same resonance of consciousness. We have that opportunity to refine and attune ourselves in every single moment simply by bringing our deep concentration, our faith, our willpower to the words that we're saying, to the ideas and opinions that we're offering out into the world. And I don't mean that on sort of the contextual level if we're in the workplace or raising our children and we need to interact on a daily basis. But, of course, we're always running through and we're offering ideas and we're having meetings and we're saying words. I, along with working and serving in the Sangha here in Ananda, Palo Alto, I'm also a high school teacher, and I use a lot of words with my high school students, and I don't stop and think about every single word that's coming through as I'm speaking. That practice would take us a lot of energy and a lot of concentration. Of course, it's doable, but it would take a lot of focus and attention to get there. But when we're working with the power of words to either uplift our own circumstances and situations or to support the upliftment of somebody around us, if we are attuning to the vibration behind them, then we can hold on to that power, and we can use that to lift us closer to the divine. An example of this, I'm speaking somewhat esoterically, so let me use an example that I just heard from last night. I was helping to support Ashanai Swami's class for In Divine Friendship, this week's class of her ongoing book study of In Divine Friendship. And in it, she was telling us a story of a time that she was supporting Swami Kriyananda by drafting emails and letter responses, working as his secretary. And someone had sent him a collection of poetry that this person had written. And so Asha was drafting the response that he would then, Swami Kriyananda would read through it and make any edits or changes, and then it would get sent off. And in it, she said, "Thank you so much for the beautiful poetry." And Swami Kriyananda told her in this moment, he reflected with her on it, and he said, the poetry was nice. It was maybe even very nice, I think Asha said. But to use the word beautiful, when in this circumstance, it wasn't necessarily beautiful poetry. Now you've used up this word. This is what Swami Kriyananda taught her and said to her. You've used up this word beautiful, and in a sense, you've diminished what that term means. Because if we're applying the term beautiful to this poetry, which is nice, but not beautiful, what happens when we encounter beautiful poetry next? What word do we use there? And this is just an example of the ways that words hold power and hold meaning for us. And if we're not conscious of that power and that vibration, then we miss the opportunity to either use words to help influence and uplift us, or we get sidetracked and we can get caught into cotton flows of energy that pull us away from our ultimate goal. And this is, of course, I'm talking a little contextually today because it's my first time being with all of you in this new web series, Change Your Mind, where we're talking about the power of affirmations, which are, of course, rooted in words. And we'll get into the first affirmation that we're going to explore this week, which is going to be energy. And I think that as I was reflecting last night in preparation for today, I was thinking about how it's just perfect to talk about the power of affirmation and the process of affirmation while using the affirmation for energy, because the two are resonating with one another. If I'm offering an affirmation, if I'm practicing an affirmation in order to shift something in my own consciousness, but I'm not bringing any energy, any willpower to it, then the words are lifeless. It's the same thing when we're in meditation. If we're just in our meditation, but our mind is scattered and we're thinking and we're talking and maybe we're breathing and moving energy in our body, but we're not actually invested in the process, we're not offering ourselves in devotion to the divine, we're not offering ourselves in transformation and a desire for self-transformation, then we're just moving energy. We're just breathing in the spine. Not that that's a bad thing to do. There are so many physiological benefits to meditation, but to really invest in self-transformation, our whole being needs to be invested in that process. Our willpower, our energy, our faith, our reason and our will, right? Our reason, our intellect, and also our common sense. All of these things have to come together as we're practicing affirmation, because our whole being has to be there. So we have to bring the reason and the common sense along, because if I'm affirming something that in my intellect I don't believe is true, then again, there's just that little side trail that's pulling me off. There's that little voice in there that's saying, well, this isn't true. You're never going to accomplish this. What do you mean I am infinite energy? And we begin to question and second guess, and we break the power of that concentration and the power of that faith. And this is one of the things that stood out to me in Swami Kriyananda's affirmation for energy. I'm not going to go through every week and read through them because we visit them every Sunday. So I will always be following the affirmation that we read every Sunday in Sunday service. So even though this is our first day together, we're actually starting in on week 4 because we're into this season a little bit. We're into the year a little bit. So rather than going through and actually reading through the prayer and the synopsis of each of the affirmations that we'll be visiting, I'm just going to pick out certain parts of them to talk about along the way because we've seen them just a few days prior. But one of the things that I found interesting in this affirmation on energy is that the synopsis Swami Kriyananda provides for energy, it actually uses the word faith more than he uses the word energy, or at least as many times as he uses the word energy. And I sat with that quite a bit when I heard it first. Excuse me. When I first heard it on Sunday, in our Sunday service. And I contemplated, what does that mean? Why is it that faith, and he says to us in this affirmation, faith and energy go hand in hand. Of course, the greater the faith, the greater the will. The greater the will, the greater the flow of energy. So what does that mean for us? Because having faith brings the power and the desire and the willingness for self-transformation. Having faith invested in energy, we can just invest our energy into something. But if our whole being, as I was saying before, our concentration, our faith, our dedication, our willpower, if our whole being isn't invested in that process, then we're either accomplishing something superficially or we're missing the opportunity for self-transformation. So faith is such an important part of that, because we have to bring the divine along for the journey. Throughout each of the affirmations, and particularly in the practice of energy, the affirmation that we'll repeat at the end of our time together today is, within me lies the energy to accomplish all that I will to do. If I leave it there, I could just be speaking to that truth on a superficial level, on a material level. Within me lies the energy to accomplish all that I will to do. The second part of this affirmation is, behind my every act is God's infinite power. Having faith allows us the opportunity to invite the divine into the process, whatever it is that we're focusing our energy and our attention on. Because energy is a flow. It's a cosmic flow that is constantly in motion. And so we're not creating energy. This is the law of, I think it's the first law of thermodynamics, maybe the second. It's one of the laws of thermodynamics. Energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It can only be transformed. We don't create energy. We tune into energy. And so those flows of energy are existing around us. And in a sense, we have a choice as to which flow, which vibration of consciousness we want to tune into as we're applying our energy towards something. And I say it, we do have a choice. Sometimes it doesn't feel that way because our ego kind of hooks onto us and can drag us in one direction or another. And so we can feel angry and downward pulling, and we can feel like we don't have a choice in that anger. But on a soul level, of course, we have a choice. We have a choice in every moment. And so that flow of energy, it's important to remember, it's not ours to create. It's ours to discover and tune into. Behind my every act is God's infinite power. It's not our energy that is motivating or animating our success or any aspect of our lives. It's God's infinite power. And to remember that when we're applying that reality to the affirmation of energy, it's so important to remember the goal. Because again, we can just apply brute force and energy to any one thing. But if I'm not applying that energy towards something that's uplifting me toward my ultimate goal, then I am missing, again, that opportunity for self-transformation. We miss the point. And so the question we come back and we can explore in ourselves when applying the principles of energy is, am I attuned to the ultimate goal? And what is the ultimate goal? Because maybe in this moment I need to apply energy to this project that I'm completing for work, or I need to apply energy to raising my family. But behind that, what's the ultimate goal? The ultimate goal is self-realization, attunement to the divine, and upliftment for everybody who is around me. There's a group of us in Ananda, Palo Alto who participate in a weekly book study. And right now we're reading Material Success Through Yogic Principles. And in the chapter that we read and discussed this past week, one of the things that Swami Kriyananda talks about is that an important thing, either as an employer or an employee, because again, he's talking to us about material success through yogic principles in this professional setting. So he's talking about being an employer or an employee. And he says in this chapter that we just finished reading that it's important to remember and to discover and hold on to the unifying principles that bring everybody together. And I found that term to be so important, unifying principles. It's not unifying project or unifying task or unifying goal, because I could be working with my team of engineers at whatever tech company here in Silicon Valley I work for, and we can have a common goal. whatever the problem or the solution is that we want to find. When I'm with my partner raising my family, we can have a common goal to help our child to achieve whatever success or next goal or matriculation is coming up for him or her. But the common goal that unifies us is different than the principles that are unifying us. What are the principles? What is it that we are actually seeking in this moment? Is it respect? Is it cooperation? Is it personal growth? So when I'm working with my child and I'm helping him or her to be successful in their next step, what are the principles that we are seeking? And that's the same question that we can ask ourselves in every moment of our lives, particularly those of us who are watching this video and are oriented toward being what we call truth seekers, those who are seeking a deeper understanding of the divine. What is the unifying principle behind everything that we're doing? Or what is the motivating principle behind every action, every activity that we have in our lives to bring us closer to God? And maybe we do that through the vein of some of those principles I just discussed, respect, cooperation. These are all little sparks of divinities that are of the divine that are bringing us closer to that resonant of truth. But we have one goal, and that is to discover our oneness with the divine. And when we are applying our energy to any one thing by using an affirmation like this, that ends, behind my every act is God's infinite power, we are always coming back to and applying the truth. That's the power of these affirmations, to come all the way back to where we started, and the power of words. And I love what Paramahansa Yogananda calls them in the beginning of his wonderful little book, Scientific Healing Affirmations, is he calls them, let me see if I can pull it up. He says that words are saturated with the vibration, with our vibration of consciousness, and they are vibratory bombs ready to explode. I'm paraphrasing this, ready to explode and to destroy all of the delusion and obstacles that are in our path. And so we have that power. Words hold power. I mean, this is a self-realized teacher of yoga, self-realized avatar who's coming to us and saying, your words are like vibratory bombs ready to explode and demolish all obstacles in your path. Words. All we have to do is repeat the words, but we need to repeat them with willpower, with concentration, with faith and knowing and trust in the words that we're saying. So when I say, within me lies the energy to accomplish all that I will to do I have faith in that? Do I have trust that this great teacher who wrote these words is resonating with that truth, that that is my truth? I do. Within me lies the energy to accomplish all that I will to do. And then the second part of that, the reminder. But where does that energy come from? Behind my every act is God's infinite power. These words are resonant with truth. That's why they hold power. They are impregnated. I was going to say, let me bring this in this way. They are impregnated with divine truth. And when we repeat them, they hold that power within us to transform our subconscious thought patterns. Simply by repeating words, by speaking them out loud, by saying them with great force and with great energy. And this, of course, is the purpose of what we're doing when we're practicing affirmation. Story that I wanted to share, because again, just to tie in this concept of energy and how we're applying energy and why it's important to apply energy to that ultimate goal, to bring in the divine, to open our hearts in receptivity to the fact that these words are helping us to transform our consciousness and uplift our consciousness, is because if we're just applying energy on a material level, brute force and brute will does in fact create change in the world, but it doesn't promise self-transformation. And an example of this that I wanted to share is an interview that I heard many, many years ago from an Olympic athlete who ended up winning an Olympic medal and later in life came out as transgendered. And she, in one of the interviews that she was discussing after she had come out as transgendered, somebody at one of the interviewers asked her, do you think that all of the emotion that was involved in growing up and feeling this way and knowing that you were in the wrong body and all of these things, that feeling that way, Do you think that all of that played a role in the accomplishments that you had in the Olympic Games? And her response was absolutely. I was applying all of this energy, all of this willpower, all of this force and desire to help change something in me that I knew needed to be changed, something that didn't feel right about the person I was and the way I was living my life. And I applied all of that energy into something that I thought would bring happiness, that I thought would bring me success. And on a material level, this person was highly successful. They went on to win an Olympic medal, but there was no self-transformation there. And that's just an example of the self-transformation came later in her life. But that's just an example of how when we apply energy, if we're not bringing in the divine, if we're not inviting God into that opportunity, or inviting God into that circumstance, then the opportunity for self-growth and for self-transformation, it can flutter away, it can dissipate, and we can just be applying brute force on the material level. Again, creating accomplishments, creating success, but we have to ask ourselves as truth seekers, what truly is it that constitutes my success? What is it truly that I am seeking? Am I seeking success in my professional life? Am I seeking success with my family? What are the principles beneath that definition of outer success that I'm actually resonating with as truth? Where is my truth? How can I seek that? How can I put energy toward that which is truly important in my life? And again, that doesn't mean we abandon our responsibilities. Paramahansa Yogananda said to Swami Kriyananda, your life will be one of deep meditation and deep inner communion with the divine and outward activity. And Swami Kriyananda has imbued so much of that into Ananda as well. And that's how many of us live our lives. Deep inner communion and also outward activity. So it's not that we abandon our responsibilities and say, oh, I'm putting energy into only that which is important and I'm seeking only the divine. But how can I use that desire to know God to inform and energize and motivate every single thing that I do in my life? When we can answer that question, when we can come back to that, when we can use the power of affirmation, the vibratory consciousness of words, when we can watch what we say, how we say it, why we say it, bring energy that is light and uplifting into all of the circumstances and situations in our lives, then we are beginning to play that role, not only in refining our own attunement, but in offering that refinement to others, and offering people, just in offering someone gratitude and kindness. We're giving them a small taste of the infinite and inexhaustible joy that is divine, that is attunement with the divine, that is yoga, that is union with the divine. And this is where Swami Kriyananda ends with this affirmation in the prayer that he offers to us. He says that through that energy, we can aspire to boundless inspiration and inexhaustible joy. This is the ultimate goal. Energy, this entire conversation he has with us, starting with the synopsis of energy, the affirmation itself and the prayer, it begins with faith. Then the recognition that we are energy and it lies within us. And then the goal, inexhaustible joy and boundless inspiration. That's the ultimate goal. That's what motivates all of our activity. That's what energizes us and moves us forward and progresses us. So to end today, let's go ahead and just say our affirmation. We'll just say it 3 times, once out loud in a loud, strong voice, once in a whisper, and then once or twice silently, focusing at the point between the eyebrows, each time internalizing that reality. This is your truth. This is your reality. It is your birthright to claim. You are energy. You are boundless inspiration and inexhaustible joy. So let's repeat this together. Within me lies the energy to accomplish all that I will to do. Behind my every act is God's infinite power. Now in a whisper. Within me lies the energy to accomplish all that I will to do. Behind my every act is God's infinite power. And now I'll repeat it twice and silently affirm, focusing with concentration, with willpower, with deep faith at the point between the eyebrows. Within me lies the energy to accomplish all that I will to do. Behind my every act is God's infinite power. Within me lies the energy to accomplish all that I will to do. Behind my every act is God's infinite power. And the prayer from Swami Kriyananda, O cosmic energy, vitalize all the cells of my body, recharge my mind with thy boundless inspiration, fill my soul with thy inexhaustible joy. This is the goal. This is our birthright. Boundless inspiration and inexhaustible joy. The energy exists within us, all around us. All we need to do is attune ourselves to it and to offer ourselves in receptivity to that joy. God bless you all.